Welcome to Memory Jogger, a podcast featuring the childhood tales of two friends who grew up in central Pennsylvania during the 1980s and early 90s. This is Jason.
And this is Wyatt. Jason and I have known each other since the fourth grade, and this podcast dives deep into our memory banks to extract what we can remember during our formative years.
And while our perspective can be regional, we also touch on pop culture that is sure to translate to other Gen Xers.
Join us as we jog down memory lane in this episode of Memory Jogger.
Yes, welcome back to Memory Jogger. You've got Jason here. Of course, Wyatt is with me.
I am. How are you guys doing? Are you enjoying our memory joggers and running down memory lane?
I am.
Well, obviously, we are. But we do get feedback. We keep asking our listeners to provide more feedback. We do get a few on occasion, which is awesome. But we continue to invite more interaction because we want to see what's going on in your part of the world, how you grew up, what was your environment like. And okay, it might not have been the greatest. That's fine too. We're here to hear it all.
Right. Find the good times.
That's right.
We got to dig out the good times we both had things we had to deal with as kids. We both went through divorces and that was rough, but here we are trying to dig out those good memories, we'll say.
Exactly.
Of course, we would love to hear from you literally with our Telby link, and we'll tell you about that in our outro. But that is where you can tell your story, essentially, when we jog one of your memories, and would love to hear that. We can play it back and react to it on a future episode. But we did get one piece of feedback. Our listener friend Karen messaged me about the Bill Murray episode. And she said, listening to the Memory Jogger, and one of my favorite Bill Murray things was when he did Nick the Lounge Singer character, and he sang the Star Wars theme with lyrics.
Nice.
She says, mutual friend Paxton Holly tweeted it a few weeks ago. I believe that was through Saturday Night Live, and he did that lounge singer guy who just basically riffed on anything. And I don't remember that particular one where he added lyrics to Star Wars, but I'm going to go search that out. That sounds like fun. But yeah, he kind of does that, Bill Murray, that is in some of his movies, bringing out the lounge singer part of him,
Right.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, you're right.
So that was good. So we decided this week for Memory Jogger, instead of spinning the randomizer, we actually had a fun encounter together just 2 weekends ago. And we decided this year we were going to skip RetroCon, or at least I did, and you followed, just because we were planning on this journey up to Pennsylvania to our hometown and take care of a little family business, we'll say. And it was great to see you. My son and I was planning originally to fly up to Maryland, and then we were going to drive up together. And then, I don't know, this idea hit the back of my brain. My dad used to take me on little road trips around PA. We went to Niagara Falls. Well, that's outside of PA, but we went to Niagara Falls. We went to the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon one time. I remember that trip. And down to Lancaster to see kind of the Amish settings and little farmers markets and things. And I think that was also, one of the railroad museums is down that way. I think in Strasburg, PA.
Yep.
Anyway, he took me all over the place, and I had this idea, well, let's road trip it. My oldest son, Jackson, was out of school. Friday was like an in-service day, and then they were out for Columbus Day. So 4-day weekend. I was planning to take those 2 days off from work, and we hit the open road, man. It was really fun. He got an education in music, let me tell you. Right before we left, I decided to finally sign up for the Amazon Music Unlimited because it was like a 4-month free trial. So we had all this other music accessible in that app. And I played him everything from Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin to the Beastie Boys to Run DMC, what else did we play? We played Def Leppard's Hysteria, just all those, well, outside of the 80s too, obviously Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin, but just got a music education playing some of the classic albums and getting his reaction to it. But that was really fun. But we met in PA, man.
That's right. Like you said, it was a road trip. I'm 4 hours away without any stops. It's actually a little bit less. And this was the first and only time I've ever done that without any pee breaks or anything. I don't know if I'm getting old or if it's nerves or what was going on that day, but I made it like in 3 hours and I think it's 48 minutes is what
the
GPS says. Anyway, so yeah, I'm close enough. I can drive, although I think the price has changed, but it was $29 flights between BWI and Altoona.
Oh wow!
So
that must be a like were you flying with cargo or something?
I think it's those puddle hoppers, those two prop
FedEx plane or something. Yeah.
Sitting backwards, hope you don't land in the ocean and get shipwrecked.
Right.
Cast away.
I think most of us have been on one of those and we're praying to God the whole time, just land me.
So like Jason said, this was a family event. I had to take care of some business. And it was similar to one about, 4 or 5 years ago. Had a situation up there, family, except it was Jason's family then. And I just said, let's go. Flat out, come hell or high water, I guess is the expression. We're going.
Yeah.
And that's what you did for me. And I really appreciate it. But my task was shorter than I thought. So we enjoyed it up.
It was so great to just have a day spent together. The weather was nice. It was cooler. I think the high was maybe in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great. I mean, it worked out good because my parents, my dad and my stepmom, usually come down to Alabama about this time of year and can't for health concerns from my stepmom this year. So it was good just for me and Jackson to get up there. We helped my dad clean out his some things in his garage. He had, I think, 4 boxes of VHS tapes. And I had taken some back with me in July and had a box set aside of ones that I wanted. I just didn't really have the space when we went back in July. So I saved a box. And Dad, God love him, his favorite movies are like action and Westerns. So he had everything from Steven Seagal and Chuck Norris to some of the older John Wayne stuff. And some of the ones I took back were all these Cops Too Hot for TV tapes. He loves Cops. We watched it with him when we were there. And just some of those reality shows too, the Ice Road Truckers and stuff he likes to watch, that kind of thing. But we took several tapes over to Goodwill. We finally convinced them it would be the good thing to do to just, donate them. There was an old TV we took over there as well. And what else did we do there? We did a couple of, we helped them put up some gutters there on the porch that needed replacing, and Jackson mowed the grass, and it was good just to help them. I'm never home when we're there. It's just such a quick trip, and just to be able to do some stuff for him was fun. And I'm sure he appreciated it, having some extra hands on. But so we ended up just kind of hanging out there, helping him out while you were doing your thing. And I was anticipating, meeting up, but we decided to go ahead and go down to Lightsinger's downtown, the 3-story thrift store now. And
so
did some digging.
Just to be clear, Lightsinger's is a 5-story building. They now only allow up to 3 stories.
Yeah.
Maybe that's because it's all they have room for or all they have expedition for. But this was I think we've told the tale a couple of times, but this was our primary, if you call it, department store.
Mm-hmm.
5 stories, at the time, it was a manned elevator with this almost wired cage door.
That's right.
And, what floor? You'd say, of course, we would say 5th floor, please. And
toys.
And there was this hand lever He would
Yeah.
move and
Yeah.
you'd watch the floors.
Going past. Yep.
It's not the
Yep.
sealed stuff that you see like maybe a trickle of light go through. It's, hi, hey, there's cousin Ed over there. It was like just like that. And then, like I said, we would get up to fifth floor, and that was toys, like we've said before. And parents knew where to find us. We're not going to go anywhere else.
Was the pneumatic tube system in place when we were kids, or
Yes.
was it still going? Okay,
it was going then when we were kids, because I remember Dad,
for like credit card transactions, I think, or something, right?
And for big change, for some reason, like anything over 20 or maybe hundreds, I can't remember. There was a denomination, so they didn't have a lot in their front end cash register. So if it was bigger, they would send it with the sales slip and what change needed to be, to come back.
Right.
And then they get to the central accounting office, which I never knew what that was until it turned into a thrift store, and it's like on the second floor.
Third floor. Yep.
Third floor.
Yep.
So anyway, you have all these pipes basically coming to what would probably be a work table of some sort.
Right.
To someone probably didn't want to double check that. Oh, yep, this guy gets $34.84. Okay. And then it goes back up the tube, and there you are.
Yeah, just like at the bank, but in a smaller and more mass quantity tubes.
Oh, yeah, because it's on every floor.
Right, yeah. But it's a neat experience. It's a store I have to go in, not just because I love thrifting, but it's just the nostalgia of that store. And we did sniff around a little bit at the Goodwill at the old Clearfield Mall, what my dad refers to as the Ollie's Mall now, I guess, is what they call it locally there. Because Ollie's on one end and now Rose's on the other,
which used to be a JCPenney's.
and Dollar General in the middle. I mean, you've got all these discount stores and a Goodwill in the mall now, so it's a mecca of savings, I guess. Right. But we always go through there. I like to look for like Penn State and Clearfield and Kerwinsville shirts that I can buy cheap. Because obviously I can't find much down here, and that always seems to be what I'm looking for when I'm home.
Right.
It's some extra nostalgia to wear on your chest. But we met for lunch at one of our all-time favorite places to eat, which is Sid's Sub Shop. It is a very unique building. It's a dome-shaped building. I don't think I've ever been up on the terrace. Have you been up like on the second floor there at all to eat?
No. And
I don't think I've ever been up there all the times I've ate there.
Right. And this is on one of our memory joggers in the past. We've talked about this restaurant actually. And we actually had videos. So go back on YouTube, look for our channel, Memory Jogger, Rediscover the 80s.
Memory Jogger, the movie. Yep.
Well, we passed it, but there's not Memory Jogger the movie. We actually did a restaurants where we highlighted
Oh, yes. Okay.
Billy's Burgerland, the Stromboli Land, the combo, the Pizza Hut,
gotcha.
All that. So we highlighted this before, and there's video of this because I was inserting pictures, and you're like, "Oh, you got it, yeah." So like Jason said, this is a dome place, and there's like a inner terrace that I don't think I've ever been up on.
Yeah,
but I think
just like extra seating, basically.
Right. And my guess, again, there's not much for tables on the bottom because it's only half the store. The rest of the other half is like the kitchen and like a little earmark to go into their spirits and wine store on the left hand side. So I imagine like upstairs is maybe 4 to 6 tables of sitting area. That's a guess.
Maybe that was the smoking section at one point or something. I don't know.
Back when we could smoke, and I'm not a smoker, but yes, the people could smoke inside. Yeah.
But just such a hometown, you might call it deli or sub shop, hoagies as we call them. Yeah. And, they do pizza and, a lot of those deli type stores. But yeah, my son ordered a full-sized 13-inch, I think.
Yep.
Philly cheesesteak, ate the whole thing. I just got a half of a sandwich, and luckily they had my Middlesworth chips as a side offering there. So I grabbed a bag of those and basically turned the bag inside out and licked the.
He wasn't that bad, but he's pretty darn close.
I stuck my nose in there a couple times and just took a whiff and was like, oh, yeah, that's great. But yeah, so we had lunch at Sid's, and then we went over, well, right next door. I took a quick picture of the sign of the video store that used to be there. The only thing that's left is the sign out front.
Video Stars. Yes.
Video Stars, yes. And we noticed, or at least I noticed, that the skate station sign was painted again, because I think the last time we were there, it had not been painted or just covered up with white. But
briefly, there was a time where it was up for sale, and I believe during that time, actually, Jason and I've never driven around the entire building, and we just took a random drive to go. Let's go around the building, just because, and it's all of pothole heaven back there.
Yeah,
like the driveway is anyway.
Yeah, we did drive around it for Memory Jogger the movie. I do remember.
Maybe that's why
we took a spin around there.
But that's why, when we joked, said why it's for sale, because on that side of it, it was pretty rough. The building looked like it needed a lot of TLC. So either there's been new love, new funding, a new person altogether, for whatever it is, it's been improved. They put a brand new sign out front, the skate station, which is what it's called. It actually used to be called Wings on Wheels way back in the day.
Oh gosh, I totally forgot about that. Yes. Yep. Yes.
Wings on Wheels for up to the early 80s, I think. And then it changed. Someone bought it out.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was totally forgot about that.
So then we decided to walk in, and I'm starting to see little birthday bags going in. I'm like, dude, I think we're crashing a birthday party.
Well, we heard music outside. I heard like MC Hammer, and I was like, oh my gosh, we're gonna walk into a time warp here.
But we're like, oh, screw it. If they call us, they call us out. They call us out. So we walk in, and we walk in literally like we're I don't know, casing the joint, something, because us three or something. They go, oh yeah, that's where this was. That's
we were getting weird looks. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely, because no one knew who we were, and here we are walking in, taking pictures, and then we walk right out. I mean, it's really that quick. But we walked in. We're telling Jackson rather, this freebie whatever, like you see at Chuck E. Cheese, where you buy, get the little tickets and transfer them for goodie bag
prizes. Yeah.
So we walk into what used to be the cafeteria. Well, that cafeteria or restaurant area was lined up at least on one side, and the back wall had arcade and pinball machines. Well, they were vacant, gone. So we're like, oh, they made more room for eating. Well, that actually makes sense, obviously, because we want to eat more.
Yeah.
The little fountain place looked about the same, but they used to have the roller skate rental on the right-hand side of that restaurant, or the kitchen. Well, I didn't see it. It was just vacant. I'm like, dude, you can't get skates? What the, I didn't know. And then we turned around, start walking out. Well, they had cut into this wall. I think it was walled up before, but they cut into it. And that's where the rentals are now. And then just as before we were getting ready to walk out, we turned to our left and see they had opened a doorway, cut out another wall essentially. And that's
from the rink. Yeah.
Yeah. From the rink. So you skate literally into the arcade.
Yeah.
Which is really clever. It's an awesome idea.
Very cool.
It wasn't there when we were kids.
No, the aesthetics of the room, though, like the carpeting and stuff, I'm sure that has been replaced, but it was still that kind of black with the neon colors and just boom, hit you right away. You're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm 12 years old again. And let's go lace them up and do some laps and try to jump whenever they play Van Halen's Jump. And
but see, that's the funny part. We had just come in. I don't think we were all there all of 5 minutes, because we were
not even that, dude. Yeah.
Jason took lots of pictures, and then we're trying to sort of explain stuff to Jackson, his oldest, and then we walk right out.
Yeah.
We walked right by the DJ booth, which we all wanted to go up and see what they had. It was at the time, not so much for the technical, but I'm like, they got to have a massive music collection, because they were always pumping something.
Yep. Yeah.
And
it was great. Yeah. I posted the pictures on Twitter and I think maybe on Instagram as well.
Yeah.
But you can see kind of the snack bar area, the outside sign. And then I took a picture of the rink itself, and then that carpet padding that kind of leads you out to the rink, and you can actually see the little arcade room off to the left.
Right.
But shout out to somebody who goes by Johnny Kamikaze on Twitter at Magnus Nightmare. He saw those pictures and he asked if the place had an arcade with cool 90s and early 2000s arcade games, like from Capcom and Konami and stuff. Of course, you replied that we didn't get a chance to go in and see. We kind of crashed somebody's. We think it was a private, at least I think it was a private birthday party.
Probably.
And ran out. But yeah, I would have loved to take some more pictures in there and just, I don't know, talk with the owners, see what their history of it was. But that was a real trip back in time.
And then we walked out, and I couldn't help but tell Jackson, I worked at the gas station right basically across the street.
Right.
So I was telling Jackson about that I worked there and how I used to scare his dad the way I drove. And we've talked about this again on Memory Jogger, I think our driving days.
Yeah.
And our first jobs, I think both, where if I parked it a certain way, I'd whip the front end of the car around, kind of like a reverse 180. And then if I did a different way, I would pull through and drive in between what was the vacuum islands, which were concrete. And then there was a gap. And then there was the wall to the doors to our hand bay car washes. And I would drive right through it. And of course, Jason was panicking that I hit the mirrors off and whatever else. So
yeah, it was tight, man. It was tight.
And Jackson's like, oh, that would have been cool. I'm like, yeah. So
he's into all this stuff. Like I'll tell him stories, and now he repeats some stories back to me, that I've told him before, and asked me questions and stuff. And I think he truly, and he's told me this in so many words, that he wishes he was born during our time. He a lot simpler, and all the stuff that we had to do to get our music and video games and stuff. He's just real intrigued with that. So
that almost brings a tear to my eye. You're bringing them up just right.
Blow into the cartridge, man. Blow into the cartridge.
Yeah. So then we were off. That's when you got your picture of the video stars. And then we went off to my cousin Bernie's classmate, as for all of us, really.
Mm-hmm.
We went over to his Revived and Company. It's a combo business. It was an old elementary school that had been sold and refurbished it and turned into apartment buildings. He picked it up here about 5 years ago or so. And he's completely, I think mostly redone freshened up all the apartments on the main floor. I can't remember how many he has upstairs. And then on the bottom level, of course, that was all the extra rooms, like the cafeteria and probably a gym at, eons ago. And he's turned those into a mix of stores. Mostly you think of crafts, handcrafts, unique things, gifts. You see it, gift stores.
But there are antiques there too. I mean, it's more of an antique mall, because I can't remember how many booths they said they have 60. There. Yeah, was it 60? Wow. I didn't think it was quite that much, but yeah. So just a wide variety of stuff, local people selling their arts and crafts, and also antique stuff there too. We found some Tonka trucks and some other little things that intrigued us while we were in there.
Yeah. And it was great to see him. I hadn't seen him for a couple of years.
Yeah, it was. I hadn't seen him in a while as well. We've missed going in there.
And then
the last couple of times we were home.
Right. And he gave us a quick tour of his house, because he's turned one of the side classrooms into his own apartment. So he's a live-in, right there at the store. Mm-hmm. So it was really awesome to see.
Pretty cool.
He did some meticulous work.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I got the idea, because we were trying to figure, what else do we do? Well, it didn't rain last night. We can't go, driving through puddle hopping. And I got the idea that I had seen a thrift store in Kerwinsville, which is where I grew up, about 9 miles away, called the Stuff Store. And I had seen it on Facebook. I had never been in it before. And it was in the old, what used to be Fox's Pizza, right?
Right.
And we decided to drive up there and went in there. And that place was really cool. There was a lot of room, a lot of tables when we first walked in, just everything you can think of, housewares and just linens and everything was in there.
I didn't realize how big it really was inside. The last time I was in there, it was probably a good 15 plus years ago. And it was, like we said, it was Fox's Pizza. It was a pizza restaurant, eateria. Now there was quite a bit of seating area for it, but the kitchen still took up, I would say, arguably the third of the building. So you didn't really see the depth of the building. And then there was a second room on the back that was I think it was a dance studio, or girls dance thing back in the day, and that spilled into that room, so there's even more stuff.
Oh gosh, yeah. And I was intrigued just with what stuff was out front. There was I found a few records there, was nosing through those, and some glassware, old glassware. I found a French's mustard bottle with Yogi Bear on it that just spoke to me, like came fresh out of the 80s. And I'm trying to think what else was out there. But then, yeah, I saw that doorway into that other back room, and that was the mecca of nostalgia back there. Let me tell you.
They had tons of stuff.
Oh my gosh.
They had a lot of newer stuff. So they had like the Hot Wheels, and which was, for me, was ridiculous. I think they were charging like $6 for the
really?
$95 that you'd find at Walmart.
95 cents.
Yeah. So, but like Jason said, there was so much nostalgia. You had everything was there. And Jason, I know, will tell you about his little finds.
Yeah.
I didn't pick up much, or actually, I don't think I picked up anything. Just, I was already going to be in the doghouse for what I was bringing home anyway.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, there wasn't much room there, but I mean, action figures. Across the back wall was bookcases, and I thumbed through 2 or 3 rows of kids' books and found some great ones. He-Man, the Real Ghostbusters. I found a E.T. sticker book and a Garfield sticker book. I'll be showing off some of these things on the Thrift Store Horde show that I do on TRN TV, the Retro Network YouTube channel. You'll be able to see those pretty soon. But yeah, and then one thing that just jumped right out to me, and I was like, oh my gosh, how could I forget this? So, 4 or 5 years ago, we went to RetroCon when we had Dwight Schultz and Dirk Benedict there from the A-Team. And I picked up the 4 A-Team characters in a bundle with their accessories. And I think I paid maybe like $40. It was a good deal. They were loose figures. They weren't on the card. And they're the big, tall 6-inch figures that I remember having BA and Murdoch when I was a kid. And I decided just to go ahead and spring for them. I forgot that they did an Amy figure with that first wave.
That's right.
And I don't know why it just slipped my mind, but there she was. So they had a pack in there. I don't think it was all 5. It might have been maybe 4 of them, but she was in there with a set of them. I can't remember what they were going for, but they also had a loose figure, just her. I was like, okay, I'm going to get her. And now I got all 5 of them in that series. So I was very happy to find Amy. And that was probably the first female figure that I've ever owned. Just, mainly boy-oriented properties when I was a kid. I take that back because I did have the Gloria Baker figure with mask. I did collect that not too long ago. But anyway, was great to have her now alongside the A-Team because she was definitely part of the team in that first season. I don't care what anybody says. Yes. But I also picked up a few VHS tapes. I found one of the had a couple episodes of Dukes of Hazzard. There was trying to think what else. Oh, there was the Charlie Brown Christmas and Charlie Brown Goes to the Super Bowl, something like that.
Yeah.
And on the side of them, they had a Shell, like the Shell gas station oil company logo on the side. So I guess that was something they sold at Shell. And I picked up those 2 tapes, picked up Danger Mouse. There was a Danger Mouse tape I picked up.
I missed that one.
Maybe one more, but and those were like a buck a piece. So that was a really good deal. And with the books, and then they had a whole section of music, lots of cassettes, I picked up several cassette singles to go with my collection. Everything from Hammer's The Addams Family Groove to Snow's Informer. I mean, and REM's Shiny Happy People. Just a wide variety of tapes that I picked up there. But those were 50 cents or $1 a piece. They were they were a quarter a piece. 4 for $1 was what the sign was. So for those things, they were cheap. There was some other stuff, action figures on the cards. I can understand, some of those prices. Some of the other stuff there was a little on the high end for what I, like to collect, but I left there with 2 bags worth of stuff and was very happy. That was a great place. The Stuff Store.
Right.
In Kerwinsville, PA. And I think that was pretty much it then for our day together. Well, we did we did go to Haas's.
That is right. Yeah. Well, we kept telling Jackson a few things. We kept always pointing back to our WCPA towers. Oh, there's the towers right there.
Right. Yeah.
At least I was. I don't know about you, but I was. I'm still in love with my old radio station, even if it's on its second set of owners. But then, yes, we decided we were going to hit up Haas's. I don't think my dad was in agreement, but he went along for the ride anyway.
Yeah, I have to hit Haas's when we're home. It's just one of those restaurants. Again, more nostalgia and just home cooking. Well, of course, my taste buds usually go right to the steak tips, but that salad bar is so great and just what legends are made of. I love that. And Haas's has closed some locations, I know, in Pennsylvania. And I think they go down to West Virginia and Maryland too. They have a few locations.
They don't have any in Maryland because I checked. I do check periodically. Usually after I've been to Haas's, I'm like, we need one down here. So the closest one is in, I think, Martinsburg, West Virginia.
Okay.
For me, that's still like a 2-hour jaunt, which is not worth it. But
it's still, just one of those restaurants. Again, I remember as a kid when we came home in July, we ate there. And one of the little quirky things to do is if the kids get a hot dog, they will carve your name in the hot dog. And I have a picture of my little girl with her Gigi written in the hot dog when we were home in July. So I don't know. It's just one of those fun things that brings a lot of nostalgia back. Eateries and thrift stores, plenty of nostalgia.
It is. I would liken it, except for the storefront, I would liken it to like a Cracker Barrel because you can get almost everything there. But
true.
It's not as Cracker Barrel is more thorough. They have a lot more on the menu, whereas Haas's is primarily a steak and seafood house. In fact, that's what the road signs will all tell you is that's what it's known or its best menu is made for.
Yeah.
But for me growing up, I was always intrigued by satisfied rather just by the salad bar alone. I never really needed to have anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've gone back off and on and have gone, to do the steak tips or maybe the little 5-ounce. I think it's a 5-ounce steak they sell.
Mm-hmm.
And crab just done that. Oh, that's you, not me.
My middle son got crab cakes when we were home. So yeah, they do lots of good stuff like that. And it was a good time going there. And even Jackson and I, on our way back, we decided, since I was visiting my mom out in Clarion, to take the roundabout way through Ohio and down through Tennessee, Kentucky. And we ended up stopping right above Nashville. And I'd hoped to hit one of my favorite thrift stores in the world in Nashville on Monday, but it was closed, I guess, for Columbus Day, which is one that we visited on our road trip to 40.
Yeah.
Which is the Great Escape. That was closed. But I had heard about this other place called McKay's that a friend from work had been to in Knoxville. So there's one in Knoxville, one in Chattanooga, one in Nashville. There's 2 locations in North Carolina as well. And it's mainly a bookstore, but very well organized. You could spend 4 or 5 hours in there easily if you're into books or records, or even DVDs and Blu-rays and VHS, because they had sections for all of those. that it goes up to a second floor balcony, and the whole balcony in a U shape is mainly just records and comics. And oh man, thousands of them there. Just a cool store. If you guys are in one of those areas, check out McKay's if you're into thrift store hunting and things like that. They did have some action figures, kind of like the Great Escape did, in the little bags. That's just loose action figures, old and new. They had a whole bin of just loose Legos that was by the pound. You can just reach in, and if you're looking for specific things or whatever colors, you can just buy it by the pound there. I thought that was funny. But we went to that store. We hit a little flea mall in Whitehorse, Tennessee, where we stopped for the night, which was really fun. The ladies out front were hilarious. I walked in. We were there just as they were opening the store. We actually had breakfast at Cracker Barrel, went next door. And, they're a little bit older than us. I wouldn't say they were older ladies, maybe in their 50s or early 60s. What did they crank out but AC/DC while we're shopping, man? It just blew my mind. And I found a few 45 records there, singles, and brought them up the counter. They're like, "Whoa, I know this one." And they started singing it and stuff. And they were just the fun owners of the little flea mall there. But just such a great trip. Lots of nostalgia found and lots of memories jogged, you might say.
That's it. Jason and I, obviously, we've done enough of these podcasts. You should know that we're nostalgic. We are very sentimental, especially when it comes to our hometown. We always bring it up in some form or fashion. But this was awesome to come back home. And even though it was supposed to be something else, a different trip, it really was just a little snippet. I almost call it a good respite to come back and, revisit stuff, see family.
It's getting harder to leave, let me tell you.
Well, it's weird because I don't want to ever, you're right. It's getting harder to leave. I don't want to ever leave. But when I'm up, especially when I'm away from the family, it's weird. As much as I want to break from the family every now and then, just even a couple hours is already kind of bad to me. I'm like, geez, I need to get back to the family. But it was a great time going up there. We did find, and Jason got a picture of it, and everybody, in fact, I think it was my stepsister said, "You guys," and I'd found in my collection.
Gosh, yeah. How did I forget that?
A Fireball Island.
Oh my gosh.
I did not know how I got this because I don't think it's mine. And Jason and I went round and round like, how did you not know? Did you? I'm like, I don't think it's mine.
Yeah, we're sitting in Sid's and Wyatt walks in, or maybe I don't know if you texted it to me or something.
I texted. I said,
okay, you won't believe what I found,
and I'm gonna wait to show you.
Yeah, and so I'm thinking whatever tapes, cassettes, or movies or something, maybe recordings that you found at your mom's house there. And I walk out and he shows me a vintage Fireball Island, and I nearly lost my mind. I was like, where in the world did you get this? And you said it. We think we know where it came from.
And I'm really hypothesizing because I have no idea where it even remotely came from. So my thought is that when I left Dory Street, this is when I was about 14 years old. Of course, my parents divorced when I was 10. When my mom remarried, is about 14. And around that time is when our mutual friend Leaf was coming over and visiting. Mm-hmm. I can only guess that he brought it over by accident, or left it rather by accident when he came over to visit. We played it around or two, and he said, "Don't worry, bring it back later." Well, obviously
later never came. Yeah. Or maybe he gave it to you. Who knows?
He could have, but I just can't figure out why I have it. That's in the end. I know I didn't buy it. I know I don't think my mom bought it, although I joked. I sent you a picture because I found the price tag. It was $18.95. Was on the price ticker from Kmart of all places.
Still on the box. We looked through it. It had most of everything there, missing the jewel, maybe missing
especially one of the bridge supports that
right,
tip it
yeah.
over.
So a couple little things that we might be able to piece together on eBay, but whew, man, well, I'm going to put that picture as our headline picture for this episode. So amazing that was there, just sitting there waiting for us, and just the flood of memories of playing that game at Leaf's house
Yes.
came back.
Yeah, but there was lunch boxes. You even saw my Trapper Keepers, my original Trapper
Oh
Keepers
yeah,
from the
went
80s.
crazy over those too.
Yep.
Insane.
So yeah, there was a lot of good finds. Again, me being nostalgic, I found my old kitty cat, stuffed little kitty cat. I was the lioness, pretty much. So I had this blanket. It was a Raggedy Ann and Andy yellow blanket that was sold in J.C. Penney's. And I carried that thing just about everywhere with me. I think even up till like around 10 or so. And not like I did leave it more as I got older, but for a good part of my early years, I mean, I was always cuddled up in it, covered up
Mm-hmm.
in it. And usually right beside me was my little white kitty cat. It was just a stuffed little toy, I guess, like a teddy bear. And I pretty much thought it was long gone because I hadn't seen it for years. I had a inkling that mom stuffed it in a box somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, digging through. In fact, I had stopped sorting through things and thought, well, eventually we'll get to it. Maybe the next drive will come up and get to it. I'm like, man, I've only been here 2 hours. I got time. I can dig through this other part of the house, crawl space rather. So that's what I did. I started crawling. I'm like, oh, there's this box of stuffed animals. But I still didn't think anything of it. I found that Trump game. It looks like brand new. Found a couple things of my sister's. I don't know if she's going to sell them or not, but like the old My Little Pony barn, stable, whatever it
Oh
was.
wow.
She had one of those. Then there's a knockoff brand of another, like, whatever you call it, a stable.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm digging through this box, and right at the very bottom is that little stuffed cat. I'm like, man, I have not seen this since I was probably about 14. So it'd been
Sitting there all along waiting
30,
for you.
yeah, 32 years. No, I didn't go back and cuddle it and oh, I'm Becky. No, I didn't do that. In
Who
fact,
knows what was in that box after 30
well,
years?
that's it. So right away, I mean, I could see a little bit of dust and stuff. So right away, I put it in the wash. We put it on gentle cycle, and it still did a little eating up. It took the feet. There's little pink feet pads,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. It took them off. My wife tried to patch it up as best she could.
Aw.
But my son, my 6-year-old, has taken ownership of my yellow blanket. He's had it for the last year and a half.
That's awesome.
We couldn't. We all have just blue blankets for the kids, and they're always looking for their blue blanket. And all of them were in the wash. How that happened, we don't know, but they were all in the wash. So I, out of the blue, said, "You can have my old blanket." And he's been latched ever since. He thinks that's the best thing. Now he still has to have his blue blankie. He ends up having both, but
That's
he
fun.
likes that yellow. And I'm like, that's yours because you really. And he'll bring it out now and then, not often, but he'll bring it out to the living room and watch, under the covers or under the blanket and watch TV or whatever he does, which is what I used to do. So I'm like, you're me. And Julie's even said stuff like he's you all over. Because we're filtering out some of the kids' toys, and he's already like, no, mom, no, I might play with that. Well, you haven't played with it for a year. Well, I see it now. Can I play with it? And he's like, yep, you are your dad's son because dad doesn't want anything to go.
Well, that's cool, man.
But yeah,
That's cool to
it was,
pass
again,
along
a
that stuff.
fabulous trip, and like Jason said, we were going to do a regular memory jogger, then we both kind of pounced on it going, wow, we could talk about our little trip and
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah.
And guys, I'm sure there's plenty of you out there that have similar episodes, or maybe you're the military guy that, we call them military brats, where you're bumped around, you're born in Germany, but you haven't been there since, that kind of thing. Look, you a lot of the ones I'd ever found, they would claim a certain place was their hometown, a base that they were familiar with, that they found, all their friends were at or whatever. We're always intrigued by what you guys have in your history, what keeps you pumping, what keeps you locked into your heritage, whether it's the music, the TV shows, the little stuff, kitty cat like me, Fireball Island, whatever it is. And we're always looking for that input. So like we'll hit on in the closer here, but communicate with us, send us a tweet, send us the Telby voicemail, send us an email. We're eager. We want to know what's going on, and we want to hear your thoughts, share your stories with us.
That's right. And, just tell us about your homecoming when you go back to your hometown. If you do, kind of like we do, where I'm 1,000 miles away, and Wyatt, I don't know how many miles it is from you, but quite a drive, and don't get there very much. But, what do you do when you get back home? We're hitting some of these places that we know, and some things come to mind while we're just hanging out. We're like, oh, let's go check this out again. And little
Favorite
things like that happen. Right. Would love to hear stuff like that. So I guess we'll sign off for now. This was fun, man. I really enjoyed the trip. Good to see you again. And just spending some time together was great.
Yeah, this has been fun. It was a great time to see you and Jackson up there. Really appreciate the drive up there, especially 1,000 miles or whatever it is.
Yep.
But yeah.
One way. Yeah. It's about 2,000 miles we put on Jackson's car, and he drove most of it. He loved it. So
about ready for an oil change already.
Yep. That's right. That's right. All right. Well, we'll sign off for now. Thanks everybody for listening. Hopefully you were entertained a little bit. And like Wyatt said, communicate with us this week about when you go back to your hometown. We'd love to hear about that. So we will catch you next time.
Yeah. Thanks again for listening.
Thanks for listening to Memory Jogger. If we jogged a few of your memories, we'd love to hear about it this week.
Visit the show notes for our Telby voicemail link and record your thoughts on today's topic or any others from our archive. We'll be sure to play it back on a future episode and give our reaction.
You can also post your comments to our show notes at rediscoverthe80s.com, which is the home base for Memory Jogger and more 80s nostalgia.
You can also find us on Twitter. Jason is at RD80s and I am at InfamousWB.
And if you enjoy listening to the show, leave us a star rating or review in your podcast app of choice. Or better yet, share this episode on social media.
Join us again next time as we challenge our brains on another episode of Memory Jogger.